We live in a world ruled by tyranny, where knowledge is suppressed and ignorance is glorified. A world where propaganda and misinformation travel the airways at the speed of lies. But in the midst of the violence and chaos, a great awakening is taking place. And as the media empires continue to collapse, a new network is forming. A network of truth, a network of courage, a network of awareness. Peace and greetings. You are now tuned into the Network of Awareness podcast radio station, where we examine current events, politics, health, finance, and topics of cultural relevance in America and throughout the world, while bringing you insightful interviews with guests that will both educate and inspire you. And now, your host of the Network of Awareness podcast radio station, ORRA the Informationalist.
Please just tell me what's happening to me in plain English without the mumbo jumbo.
My aura is a network full of awareness and gifts like ORRA, the Informationalist.
How you doing?
You are now tuned in to the Network of Awareness. To the Network of Awareness.
Yes, peace and greetings, brothers and sisters from around the world. You're now tuned in to a live broadcast of the Network of Awareness. And we got a great show today on the Narcissism Series. And I'm very excited today to do a Narcissism Series show, considering I haven't done one in a while. And many of you know I get real amped up about narcissism. Some of you call me the Narc Ninja, the Narc Assassin, the Narcinator. And today we are going to annihilate and dissect, examine this thing called narcissism. So if you're a narcissist, you're probably going to get mad. If you're an empath, you might become more aware than you was before. And I got a really special guest coming on to the show today. Let me tell you a little bit about her. Her name is Aasha T. And she's emotional and energetic intelligence teacher and speaker. All right. She's certified in emotional and energetic intelligence facilitator, as well as a keynote speaker. She works with clients from self-worth all the way to the top 1% of high achievers. She has been an entrepreneur and a consultant for over 15 years and is a certified trauma specialist, as well as a few other healing modalities. And basically, her approach is very down to earth, and her main goal in life is to bring energy work to the masses to stop trauma, bonding with relationships, addictions to anything, and with money. So push and pull of energy is relatable to everyone, and it's the best thing about her work. It helps every area of life and all works of life. She's got a bunch of accolades. She has a lot of different attributes. We're going to share later on, because we had to kind of speed things up for this live broadcast. It's a spontaneous thing. So as many of you know, when I do things spontaneously, they wind up being really great. So giving all praises to the Most High for that. We're going to have a great show today. And we're going to get to know Aasha T, but we're really going to dissect the empath being the narcissist. And we're going to really talk about this dynamic between empaths and narcissists and empaths and everything that happens in between that keeps them bonded, locked in together, And then eventually, if the empath is smart and strong enough, will disengage from the narcissist. And sometimes the narcissist can become better. Sometimes they become worse. But for the most part, even like somebody from myself from experience, being the empath, you become better than you was before. And you get to realize some of your narcissistic traits and really put them in check. So without further ado, let's bring Aasha T onto the show. Give me 1 second because we got to give her a nice warm round of applause here before we have her come on.
Thank
All right.
you. Thank you.
Not a problem. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here, Aura. Thank you.
I'm so happy to have you. Give me 1 second here. I realized that I have something I have to change here. And okay, I think we're good now. All right. So if I mean I gave an introduction about who you are and what you do. Is there anything that you want to add on to let the listeners know about what it is that you do and a little bit about yourself?
Oh, thank you so much, Aura. And thank you to everybody who's watching or catching us on the replay. I'm super excited to connect to any of you. My whole foundational teaching is in emotional and energetic intelligence, emotional intelligence. And you know what I find, Aura, is so many people are like, yes, I'm really high in emotional intelligence. And actually, the truth is that it's really what it boils down to is the balancing of the two hemispheres of the brain. So the right, which is more of our emotions, our feminine, our love, and our empathy. And then we have the left, which is analytical, truth, masculine. So if you were to take it from the lens of masculine and feminine, I balance people internally so they can just be themselves and feel really confident. The result is not being hurt by, well, I wouldn't say not being hurt by anybody, but a much stronger relationship with your emotions so that you don't feel hurt by the person. You honor the emotion that the person's giving you to come up. Yeah. That's
Well said. Well said.
Thank you.
So obviously narcissism is a hot topic. It's actually one of the most searched words on the internet.
That's
going
right, yeah.
back to like I think 2019.
Yeah.
So it's definitely something that a lot of people are by the way, just so that we don't have any feedback, is it I'm hearing some feedback on your end on the microphone. Can you hear that?
No, I can't hear it, but I do know how StreamYard works. It can get like that sometimes. So
Okay.
Unfortunately, I can't do anything other than I don't
All
have
right.
my microphone.
No, that's fine. I'll make sure that on the back end I'll edit the show so we take some of that out. Not
Okay.
a problem. All right. So as I was saying, like narcissism it's a hot topic, right? So where do I start? Because I feel like women are becoming more narcissistic these days. So it was always a man thing, right? Men were always the dirty dogs, being very deceitful, not being loyal to women, always lying, always having stories. You would always hear back in the days in the 1950s, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s. Oh, my dad had 2 lives. I have other brothers and sisters that I didn't know I had that I just found out about because my father had a whole nother wife or a whole nother girlfriend and has a house with a dog and just a whole nother life that he was living. You would always hear that. Big, it's like a very common story. But nowadays, ever since the emergence of social media being the self-worship network, a lot more women have become narcissistic. They become more cold. They become more masculine. More like I'm the man. I'm the one that wears the pants. I'm this, I'm that. You have a lot of women that are becoming very cold. They're not as nurturing as they used to be. But they're catching up to men in the narcissism field and really just it's becoming a very toxic society because of this, where you're not really seeing meaningful relationships really being glorified. and brought out. It's almost becoming it's becoming more and more rare, where the toxic relationship is the one that's more popular now. It's the one that people gravitate. The trauma bonding is becoming stronger now. So with all that being said, I just wanted to kind of preface that to say, how is it that you personally got into narcissism? What was the trigger for you to really start understanding what this was all about?
Yeah. So I love what you shared. I just want to highlight something. So the reason that this is happening, especially with this, I call it a narcissistic agenda. It is spreading division between men and women. It's much easier to blame somebody else for what you don't want to look at, and that's a harsh truth. But anytime we're casting some sort of blame outward, we're actually only affecting our own inner compass and our own inner being. One of the major points of my work is trigger alchemy and understanding where the trigger is coming from and how do we alchemize it, which is really essentially taking the good, the bad, and the ugly and mixing it all up and bringing it through the body, getting that energy out, the hurt, the pain. And so that's one piece. But for myself, it was my own experience. I was deeply affected by feminism and anxiety as a woman. There's a couple reasons. Number one, women are screamingly powerful. We're love. We're the love frequency. Love frequency is the strongest frequency in the entire world. And the people at the top, they know that. They know that if we have a man, a masculine man, and a feminine woman coming together, it is unstoppable. And we're starting to see that in the entrepreneurial community. You even said it, like these benevolent couples. So if we get into the higher truths, we've been sort of put under these agendas in the media, and in the narcissism agenda is one of those things. It is emasculating men because men don't want to deal with that drama. They'd rather just hide out. And so it's actually causing men to become emasculated as the women become more masculinized. And so this was my experience. And what happened, Aura, is the craziest story ever. I'll give you a little insight. I had a man attached to my soul for about 20 years. So he and I got in a trauma bond when I was 18, and we had, slept together. And there's a lot of energy that happens when people are coming together. And this is why, by choice now, I'm on a devotional path until like my divine partner comes through for me. And, I take that very seriously. But he essentially, what happened was when he and I broke up, that feeling, when you break up with someone and your heart gets ripped out of your chest and it's like, oh my God. And then you cry and you die. This is called the dark night of the soul. So he didn't have the tools to heal himself. So for 18 years, he held on to my soul. And so meanwhile, I was getting overweight, anxious. I knew something was wrong with me. I started to get precancerous cells. And I was like, what the hell is going on? And then he started to let go and I felt it. And when he let go, I was married and I reached out to him, right? Very narcissistic behavior, reaching out for something else. And when I reached out to him, he said, I can't believe you just reached out to me. I just let you go. But he didn't let go of me to heal. He let go of me to jump onto another woman. So he activated me. It's called a twin flame activation. It was like, I'm like, oh my God, this is the man, like ignoring all of the red signals and like everything. And so I left my marriage. And then when I left my marriage, 6 weeks later, this man ghosted me, pretty much like karma, right? Coming back at me. And when he left and then my husband left, I had no man to grab onto. And I basically burned in hell and I saw everything. And I started to see pushing and pulling. And then I tried to go back to my husband, but by that point, my husband became the one that became the avoidant as I became anxious, whereas he was anxious and I was avoidant before. So I started to see what we call push-pull dynamic. And that was 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago. Yeah. Yeah.
So how did you crawl out of the depths of hell?
Yeah, well, it was so crazy, Aura, because I'm not religious, but I had been living in Bali in Australia, and I knew it was a calling. My hands were like burning with energy. And so I went to a church, and they were like, oh, we can't help you. And I was like, oh, I think I needed that to understand dogma, and then really the energy relationship of what this place is. This whole game, all it is energy. You're just graduating over to up, 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 right? You're going up closer to the divine, to the most high. And the more you do that, the way that you do that is by what we call deprogramming your stories. So when I was in the hell, I lost my job. I was sexually assaulted twice. I got in a really bad car accident. My husband left me and my son to go to the mines. I was freaking out. I moved into my parents' basement. But meanwhile, I was like, oh, this is a calling. I'm going to start a business. So I started my business. And I realized that emotional intelligence is like the missing link for everything. And so I learned lots of different energy modalities, and I started to put together my method, which has helped thousands of people so far in my journey in the last 2.5 years.
So before we get back to this empath is the narcissist, let's talk about and let the listeners know, what is emotional intelligence?
Yes. Okay. So emotional intelligence, the definition is the ability to understand your emotions in the moment, right? Because we all know what we should have said after, and then use that information to make more conscious decisions. And just to simplify what that means, because I like to keep it really simple for people, is trust the absolute shit out of your emotions and your body. If your body wants to scream in anger and cry, get somewhere and do that privately. And then if your emotion feels this way, let it all out. You want to really start to gain the understanding that each energy and motion, each emotion is coming from a greater source, whether you call it God, divine. It's a masculine and feminine, and it's coming down through your body as an intellect to tell you to feel that way. And then when you really understand that, you don't fear emotion. You don't fear the narcissist. You don't fear fear. You feel fear. You feel sad. You feel angry. I am angry. I am mad. I am pissed off. I feel this way. And so you realize, like, it's almost like I like to visualize, like, emotional intelligence is your ability to look at the emotion happening without getting caught up in the emotion. A trigger. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So let's talk about this. When it comes to the empath being the narcissist, and that dynamic between an empath and a narcissist, because the two opposites attract each other.
Yes.
And even though they're significantly different from each other personality wise, they are somewhat the same.
That's it.
Especially when either one, in the way they operate in their life, can operate at extreme high intense levels in whatever it is that they do.
That's it.
And that's something I've noticed, is that the more intense each one is, the more intensity in the toxicity of that relationship, the more risk are involved in that relationship. And I know in my particular situation, if I would have stayed after knowing everything I knew, after knowing all of the betrayal and the ugliness that was going on behind my back, and the flying monkeys that this person was establishing relationships with and talking behind my back to try to pin these people against me, which she did a phenomenal job. I think she's probably the greatest narcissist I ever met in my life. With all of that happening, let's talk about trauma bonding.
Yeah.
Because that's something you talk about a lot and you educate people on. So if you could first start out in explaining what trauma bonding is, and then go into how the trauma bond develops and intensifies between an empath and a narcissist, please.
Oh, I love that. Okay. Such a great subject. And first off, I'm so sorry that you had to experience that. Does not feel good. And because I wrote the book, The Empath is the Narcissist, I can really empathize with you.
Well, if I could say one thing.
Yeah.
It didn't feel good at the time. And I tell people all this all the time. I wasn't really hurt by the betrayal. Yes, it did to a certain degree. I was more upset with myself. I think that was the biggest thing. It was like,
Mm,
how did you get here? Like, you're
yeah.
not that weak. So there's something wrong here. We got to fix with ourselves. And that was and I tell people that's what was so hard to deal with. I'm
Yeah.
free from that now. So I thank you, but it's one of the best things that could have happened to me at 44 years old.
Yeah.
That at 44 years old, Aasha
Mhm.
T, I learned how to set boundaries at 44 years old.
Yeah. You learn.
So
And
it
you
was a blessing.
and the coolest thing too, Aura, is after a while you don't have to even set boundaries if you just stay true to exactly what you want. That's how much power the human being has. We don't even have to, like, you can just literally call for it and it will come. So somewhere in your life, right? We don't know much about what's going on planet Earth, but we know that we're multidimensional beings, right? I've got this light in my face, but I don't mind if you don't. And we know that we're multi-dimensional beings. And I said this to you off camera, but when you start to actually look at the fact that, like, this is infinite life, maybe at one time you were that person that did that to a woman. And so maybe this lifetime you had to pay that, she had to pay that back for you. So it kind of opens up your empathy for her behaviors. And like I said, I don't use the words toxic. I don't use the words like describing humans. I just look at them as either wounded or healed. Because maybe 10 years from now, that woman will call you crying, being like, oh my God, I just got the big payback. And like, you're like, oh, right. Okay, well, and it's an energy game. So you can just kind of say, all right, well, cool. Thank you for the lessons back then, or, you know, whatever you choose. So after that happened with my husband and that man from 18 years, I received another one and then another one and then another one. So I kept getting the same thing repeating over and over, because my goal and dharmic path is to be as close to God as possible. I have to forgive every single masculine in my life, every single one, even the ones that assaulted me. And that's a deep truth. People are not usually ready for that truth because there's a lot of pain that comes around that. But that's how I live my life, because I stand for unity consciousness. And so, and maybe it'll be me on a soapbox and people throwing tomatoes at me. But at the same time, this is what I stand for. The truth is that, you know, the divine, God, the masculine, feminine, elephant in the sky, doesn't matter what you call it, they don't make mistakes. They're just giving us emotional experiences to experience the full gamut of life. And so that includes a lot of pain. So when we talk about these trauma bonds, we're somehow replicating something that happened either in our childhood or in another life, if you believe in past lives. And so I'd love to hear your perspective on that, but like, that's really what we're doing. So we're creating, like, even betrayal and rejection, they're not real. Betrayal is a behavior that someone does to you so that you feel sad, angry, thrown away. And so that person's actually betraying you, and I'm putting that in quotations, so that you can have those emotions, so those emotions can come out of you, so you can get closer to the Most High. Because nothing that is outside of love is real. Love is the only force, love and truth. And so I don't use the words, like, I have been, again, in the quotes, manipulated, betrayed. I've done manipulation, I've done betrayal, yet I don't believe them to be true because it's not in the love frequency, which is all that the divine is. It's deep.
It's very deep. It's extremely deep. So do you want me to give you the answer about past lives?
Yeah. What are your thoughts? Just love to get that perspective from you.
Well, definitely is truth to that. There is past lives. This is not the first time our spirit comes into a physical body. Some of us are repeat offenders, so to speak.
Yeah.
Some of us are new to this planet, so to speak. That's my belief system, that some of us are new to this planet, some of us are old. I personally believe I'm an old soul. And the reason I know this, because I've had countless people tell me this, but also I went into a deep meditation when I was about 28 years old. And I didn't leave my body, so I didn't astral plane or anything like that. But I went into such a deep meditation that I kind of teleported into one of my past lives, and I actually got to witness an experience from a past life, and it was real brief. So basically, I was in somewhere in Egypt, and I'm on a gurney, laying down on a gurney. So I'm facing up, looking up, and there's about 4 people on one side carrying me on this gurney, and then there's 4 other people. And they were dark figures because I couldn't see their faces, so they were more like shadows, but they were humans. And some of them are looking down at me, looking straight, looking down at me, looking straight. And so I'm just laying there. And I'm assuming that I must have been dead or something, because it felt like that, but it felt like I was just reliving something that I experienced. And so as they're carrying me to a pyramid. Now, pyramids are crypts, they're tombs, they're entombments. So I'm being carried to this pyramid. It's significantly large. It's not like the Giza pyramids, but it was somewhat smaller. And what I saw was there was a portal of a door opening up, kind of like boo, 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 and I can hear it. It was like the door was opening up. And as the door was opening up, all I saw was blackness in this door of the pyramid that opened up. And then all of a sudden they're bringing me in there. And as I go into the darkness, I snapped out of it.
Oh my God.
I woke up. Yeah.
Nice.
So that was like a past life that I remembered.
Yeah.
One, you know what I mean? So I definitely do believe in it.
Yeah. And if you have experienced any form of like narcissistic hell on earth, you're going to start being like, what is the point of this place? Or like, even if someone passes away, like that was an epic story, but I'll be honest with you, Aura, I've had some past life regressions and moments where I've seen myself doing really dark stuff. And I'm like, oh my gosh, oh goodness. So that's another reason why I don't judge as harshly as even in the pain, I'm like, oh, well, they just can't see it. Like we all kind of have been bad and have been good. And I work with a lot of, as you know, I work with like a lot of leaders. There's a test called the dark triad, and it's narcissism, sociopathy, and Machiavellianism. And they actually look for a little bit of these traits in leaders. So I've gone through this healing of the ego and this healing of like, am I a good person? It's so confronting, but the more we confront that dark energy, again, that word alchemize it into the light. And that's when we become the benevolent leader. So I actually often say, like, you don't have a lot of narcissism. I'm sorry, you're not that powerful. Like the people who are narcissistic are so afraid of what's going on inside their body that they're nice to everybody else other than the people that love them, because they're so afraid of their own power. And having to face that is because power has had such a bad energy and ring behind it. Like, like there's been so much tyranny and there's so much like greed on this planet. But once you realize that you're deserving of all that abundance, all that love, God wants you to have these things. The divine wants you to feel full and love life. And it's been so freaking distorted on this planet that we need people like you doing your work, your mission work, and people like me speaking the real truth, because there's so many people I find, Aura, that message me and they're like, I think I'm the narcissist. I don't know. And like people are so confused. And like for me and the way I lead, I'm leading 100% with a full authentic lens of how difficult it is to face this stuff, because the more people that can embody that and tell the truth, the more people are going to be able to help the other person behind them that's going through the same thing.
So true. So true.
Yeah.
So let's go back to, we didn't finish talking about the trauma bond and how the empath and the narcissist kind of get together, and that whole entire entanglement, right? That takes two to tango. I know you don't like using the word toxicity, but it takes two to tango in that
toxicity.
toxic entanglement.
Toxic entanglement, tango, toxicity tango.
Yeah, because there's a lot of things that play itself out, but there are some things that I talked about in the past. I actually did a show called Abundantly Aware. If you ever get a chance, check it out. I did it a couple of weeks ago. But when it comes to narcissism, you got breadcrumbing, which is that they're leading you on enough to show you interest, but they're not really interested.
Yeah.
But they're interested enough to see if you're going to be interested.
That's
It
right.
reminds me of Wedding Crashers with Vince Vaughn when he's like, "Am I interested? Or they're not interested?" And then that whole thing about dating, right?
Yeah.
Do I hug fully or do I give them the half hug?
Nightmare out there. I know, right?
But all of that stuff, as funny as it is so true, especially with dating. That's why I don't really like dating. I haven't dated in a long time.
See, this is
you know
the
what
thing.
I mean?
Yeah, because people end up stopping going out there because the pain. But this is the thing. I'm going to give a little visual. So let's say you're getting breadcrumb, right? We'll use you for example, or actually, let's use me. This just happened. So basically, this man, every time I'd like let go, he'd come back in, and then he'd let go and come back in. Instead of looking at this man as somebody that was breadcrumbing me, I just realized that he and I had a little tube of energy running between us. And every time that tube, it can feel like a crack addiction. It can feel like heroin. You get like the little bit of attention. So what I did instead was figured out what the emotion was in that little tube of energy, which is me seeking the attention of a masculine man to make me feel better, and worked that backwards with my processes and methods. But essentially, those breadcrumbing is in that gaslighting. It all stops when you don't need that from that other person. And so I have such a unique perspective, Aura, but I literally am almost like, come on, bring it on again. Like, let's see what's going to happen this time. Am I going to have an emotional reaction or not? Yeah. And like, it's almost
is that like your competitive spirit, by the way?
Yeah, it's I get this like weird perfectionist thing where I'm like, can I become so emotionally intelligent that nothing affects me emotionally, and still with the humanness of life, of course, I mean negative effects, right? So I have really big moments of pure love, and like I have big emotions. I'm always going to be like that, right? Like the more connected we are to ourselves and the divine, whatever you want to call it, the more we amplify, right? So for me, I have like really big emotions, but they're always very kind. People are always like, people will sometimes be like, oh my God, you remind me of my narcissistic mother, but like, you're so consistent and nice. It's confusing. I'm like, I know, because I've done the dark energy work, right? And so men will come in, men will come in and they'll like work off my energy field. Sometimes they'll just yell at me and then they'll like leave, and then they'll come back, like they'll go into their cave and then come back and yell. And I understand that, because that's part of my role in this world, is to help people heal. And it's just so when we talk about this trauma bond, why do they connect? Is on some level we're trying to replicate. It always comes back to worth. It always comes back to our self-worth. And we're trying to replicate what we can't find inside ourselves. So if you're a man and you're doing this with women, there's a part of you that fears your own love, right? The feminine aspect inside. And if it's a man doing it with a woman, there's a part of her that fears her own power inside. And so what we do is we look for it outside of ourselves, or if we're codependent, and we ignore it if we are avoidant and narcissistic, if you will. And it's the understanding of pushing and pulling until you really balance, and you can balance, and then you get to be whoever you are. I'm very boppy by nature, but like I'm balanced inside, and that's what you want to achieve in this lifetime. That's when everything starts to flow, like really flow. It's fun.
So what are some of the triggering trauma bonds that you can educate people on? Because there's so many, but if you can name a few that why people, because one of them is something you just alluded to about how people say you remind them of their narcissistic mother.
Yeah.
I have a narcissistic mother. I mean, she's one of those people that she's going to find something wrong with the most perfect, enlightening, wonderful situation that can possibly be. You could
Yeah.
probably go take her to one of the best restaurants in the world. It's a 10-star restaurant.
Yeah, and they're out there,
Okay?
those people, trust me. Yeah.
For the
Yeah.
past 20 years. And my
Yeah.
mother will sit down in that chair and have a meal and find something wrong with the soup,
Yeah.
with the way the forks are lined out, she's gonna find something wrong with something.
Yeah.
And she's gonna criticize.
Yeah.
So I grew up with that, and I had a stepfather who was always putting me down.
Yeah.
Now, as much as he put me down, I knew that he was full of shit.
Yeah.
But it still had an effect on me to where,
course.
as I grew up, I became the type of person to where I still have traits of this. Is where I feel like I have to go out of my way to prove to you that I'm worthy of your friendship or
Yes.
your love or whatever, and try to prove to you that I'm worthy of that. You know what I mean? When I shouldn't have to, but it's that trauma from childhood.
Yeah.
So the reason I bring this up is let's talk about how these triggers of trauma come out and what can some of them be, so that people can be aware of this and to start this healing process and self-examination and introspection, so that when they're looking in the mirror, they know exactly what to look for.
Oh, I love that. And I'm so sorry you went through. You seem like you would have been such a cute little boy. And, you know, and it's always tough to hear because there's two sides of that coin as well, where that person and your mother, they're so lost inside their own head that like they have to figure out what's going wrong outside because there's unsafety inside their nervous system. So when a trigger happens, our body is going, alert, alert, we're not safe, we're not safe. And now we're triggered and we are feeling scared, right? Everything's pretty much the root is of a low vibrational emotion, a dense emotion. No such thing as a bad emotion. That doesn't exist. Take it right out, especially if you have kids. There's no such thing as a bad emotion. It's just energy. They're either dense or they're really light. It's pretty dope. And so our body's like trigger, trigger, trigger. And that density comes up. And the brain is going, you're in danger. And the brain doesn't know if it's a saber-toothed tiger or if it's your mother about to lose her shit in a restaurant in front of 50 people, right? And we get on edge, right? And so we feel this emotion and we instantly feel like we have what we refer to as an amygdala hijack. Our brain gets like hijacked. And then what happens is we have to feel like we need to protect ourselves. So when we think about trauma triggers, that's really what they are. I do a series of this in my courses. I have a great course called Self-Worth Warriors. It's super approachable. We do 8 weeks. It's awesome. It's for men and women. And we talk about the rejection wound. We talk about the mother wound, the father wound, everything. Okay, I'm going to make a bold statement here. And I hope if everybody's listening, if there's one thing that you can take from this, everything boils down to the mother wound and the father wound. Everything. The rejection wound, the abandonment wound, any other core wound that you can think of. And it doesn't necessarily mean your mother and your father. You may be listening to this and be like, I had an awesome relationship with my dad. It's the interdimensional mother and father. Okay, so like the masculine and feminine in the sky. So you really always want to be looking at your relationship. If you're getting triggered by another lady and you're a lady, it's something to do with your relationship with feminine. And if you're getting triggered by a masculine, it has something to do with that. If you're getting triggered by media, that's can be another diversion of what's going on inside yourself and your own power. So I'm kind of diverting here, but when we're talking about trauma bonds, this is what it is. It's if you can think of one thing to do, it is really all about switching the lens of your relationship with the villain. So the villain and the victim, right? And when we own the villain, when we say like this villain was a tool for us, that is when you can start really healing the trauma that's inside yourself and avoid repeating a pattern. Because the universe is going to keep giving you the same thing over and over until you figure it out. And so once you start to figure it out, that's when what's meant for you will really come in. Yeah.
As I've been talking to you, this is something I wanted to mention I forgot about. But ever since we started talking and getting really engaged in this conversation, I feel a really strong energy in my, what is it called? In my heart chakra, or like in my solar plex, like right here.
Oh my gosh, that
From
brings me so much joy.
Yeah, like I really feel it, like, because I feel like this conversation that we're having is very, very meaningful.
Yes.
And whenever I have really meaningful conversations, I feel like there's receptors in the brain that are
Hmm.
reconnecting. I feel like I'm accessing that junk DNA
I love
to
that.
where it's like this is a very powerful conversation. So I'm
Yeah.
glad that we took the opportunity to make this live spontaneously, and to talk about these things.
So
So
thank you for having
let's
me,
talk.
Laura. You're
Yeah, not a
awesome.
problem.
You're
Let's talk
awesome.
about what is feminine embodiment and how does that make stronger men, because this ties in to the narcissism relationships. But I also want you to discuss this because I see this as a benefit. I see how women have been shitted on for a long time, especially in American society and other societies as well around the world. But women are very powerful, and I do truly believe that the feminine embodiment does make the man stronger.
Absolutely.
And it brings about a perfect balance. Just like when you drink alkaline water, which I do a lot, it balances the body at a perfect pH balance level, which strengthens the immune system, which increases the strength of the red and white blood cells,
Mm,
which allows you to function at an optimal level, but also fight off any type of dis-ease or bacteria and things that can get you sick. So let's
yes.
talk about how the feminine embodiment and how that makes men stronger.
Mhm.
Let's talk about that.
Oh, I love this. Okay. Yes, I love what you shared too. I'm so happy to hear like you're having that emotional, beautiful, like emotional response to this
I
because
am.
I
It's very
love that.
intense.
Oh my gosh, that's so awesome because I love working with men because they have really big surges of power come through. It's fascinating. Like I'm talking huge deals. So hopefully for you, and I'm going to wish this on you if it's okay, like that you receive some beautiful clarity and like your next step after we part from one another and like receive a lot of abundance. And so more than you have already. So I'm so grateful that I'm here. But um, okay, so I'm going to speak from the feminine lens because two reasons. Number one, I am a woman, and obviously it's easier for me to explain this from the feminine lens. And the second reason is because the feminine frequency, this one of my coaches and teachers talks about this all the time, but the feminine frequency goes first. And that doesn't mean the female goes first. What it means is the feminine frequency goes first. So if we're talking about this on like, let's say you have an idea, you need to sit and you need to think about it. You need to go to the woods, get the clarity that you need, and then take action, which is the masculine frequency. So the feminine is all about receiving. And people feel like being feminine is weak, yet most people can't receive feedback. They immediately get defensive. And that means that the feminine frequency, being able to sit in feedback, remember I said a lot of people project onto me and run away. I still hold my heart open to those people. And that's where the real power comes in because we want to shut our heart. It hurts when somebody is saying bad things to us. So when we talk about the dynamics of feminine and masculine energy, for me as a feminine woman, I do an extreme amount of gratitude and love toward every masculine in my life, like every single one of them. So I'm devoted to God, I'm devoted to the divine, I'm devoted to the cosmic masculine in this lifetime. So for me, that means that every masculine man represents that. Even the ones that are like really low vibe, they're there to help me, right? I've got some low vibe homies in my life. Do not get me wrong, right? Like I'm not saying people can just treat me like crap. What I'm saying is I don't get triggered when some of these low vibe people yell at me. Instead, I use them as a tool to keep my heart open and find the truth in what they're sharing because there's always a truth. Even in a projection, there's always a truth. So then if we look at it from the masculine side, same situation. You want to look at every single woman in your life as a gift from the feminine aspect in the sky, whatever you want to call her, goddess, muse, love buttons, whatever. And you want to look at every woman as like a little piece of that on the planet and just thank them for being in your life and releasing them. And then what I like to do with the masculine and feminine energies is this place is like an ascension ladder, right? We're just going up this ladder of life on different timelines. So when you let go, like you can go into your head, right? Let's say you have some pain from the feminine, it maybe even that woman that you were describing, and you want to just visualize her in a safe place, and you visualize her and you just give her, like you shoot your heart wide open at her, and maybe you visualize her saying really terrible things to you, and you exercise keeping your heart open and let the pain come through you. Feel mad, feel sad, feel freaking betrayed, feel those things, and keep practicing keeping your heart open. And then you want to just gently move her away, like move her away all down to the lower timeline. And as you practice things like that, if you do that every day for a week, oh my gosh, I wouldn't even be surprised if she reached out to you, because that's how energy works. Once you let go of it, you start to really, really understand that every feminine is here to help the masculine and every masculine is here to help the feminine. And it changes your entire life.
Well, she's definitely keeping tabs on me under her fake accounts. Yeah, I'm pretty sure of it.
Yeah.
But I'm at the point now.
Up there, that's for sure. I want everybody to know as well, like, this is high level healing. This is higher truth healing. I am not at all denying the darkness on this planet. If you have the capacity to do this and do this safely, you can come join one of my programs, or you can also just start following me on Instagram or whatever you need to do to start your own healing journey, because those emotional attachments to those people are debilitating you. They don't target people that have nothing to say. They target people that are here to do really big freaking things. And that's what the difference is. And they'll go away after a while once you let go.
Well, that's the thing too. People that are doing great things are the ones they want to tear down. That's a marker for how great you are. And that's what my life was last year. I was doing such great things that I had these people literally trying to tear me down. Like literally they wanted me to kill myself. I even had people tell me that. Why don't you just kill yourself? It's like, really? You want me to kill myself? Like my energy is so powerful that you want me to kill myself because you can't, you got that haterism in you where you don't see the potential in yourself. So you really just want to knock it out with me. Not happening. But with all that being said,
good
for the people listening, I'm going to have all of Aasha's information in the description box on my podcast network. And you can listen to the show anywhere around the world. We're in over 50 countries on all podcasting platforms. I just got off a YouTube suspension. So if you can't listen to me on YouTube, which I'll probably get suspended again or terminated, you can always go on to Network of Awareness, and all of her information is going to be in the description page on the podcast. Now, with that being said, I really want to talk about, because this is so important for the people that are on this live, because I'm pretty sure that the people on this live have experienced a narcissist or have been narcissistic themselves.
For sure.
And then, of course, for all the people that are going to be downloading the show around the world after we finished. I want you to give your advice as a professional, as an emotional intelligence teacher, and give people the best advice you can give them on how they should start going about establishing meaningful relationships in their friendships, in their love lives, if they have one, or if they're looking for one, what to look for, right? Yes. Because for me, I'm attracting the right energy now with women. Yes. I'm attracting the right energy. And it's really nice, but at the same time, I'm remaining single. Just because I want to take time to really love myself again the way I never have before. I want to take it to the next level in loving myself, to the point where the type of situation, if it arises again, I'm going to have like a force field that cannot be penetrated.
That's it.
I have one now, but its circumference is like here. I want the circumference to stretch out for like at least a mile. So
Yeah.
that's why I want to take time for loving myself.
Good for
But
you.
let's talk about this because I want people to really get an understanding of how they should go about developing meaningful relationships so that they don't get caught in this web of distraction and deception.
Okay. Really great. Really great. And I'm so happy for you and taking that time and remembering though too how important it is that we need people to show us ourselves. And that's a little bit of the agenda right now that's happening in this division. Like we're not going to have a country in Western society if women don't have babies. Like if we don't have couples, we're going to have a major problem. Like this is not by accident.
Absolutely. And by the way, I'm going to take myself off a camera for 2 minutes so you can go into your whole dialogue about this, okay? So just do you, and I'll
Okay.
be right back.
Okay. What was the question again? I can be a real mermaid sometimes. I have no idea what you asked.
So I want you to give your advice about how people should go about developing
yes.
meaningful relationships that are healthy, right?
Yes.
Not
yes, I love that.
relationships that are destructive and toxic.
Yeah. Okay.
Because a lot of times, and this would happen with me when I was younger, I always had women that wanted to sleep with me quick. I'm talking about first time they meet me, by the time the night is over, they want to sleep with me. Or it was all this intense rush bullshit that led to nowhere. And I was just like happy-go-lucky guy, like, oh, you want to sleep with me? Okay, like, sure, even though that's not what I was looking for. Being a man, being in that lustful spirit, I was like, hey, the more the merrier type of mentality. And it wasn't good for me. And I'm not saying that to like brag. I'm actually kind of I'm not proud of it at all. Actually, I wish I would have went about it a lot differently when I was younger. I probably would be in a different place right now with relationships, but I had to learn the hard way. But let's talk about that because a lot of people, they feel like, for example, they'll be like, oh, we talking every day, or when we first met, it was so magical, and when we kiss, it was so intense, and all this other stuff. And sometimes that's not a good thing. Sometimes it's good to develop something that takes time for all these things to mature. Just get to know the person. Don't talk to them for a week, after you meet them. It don't have to be like, oh, I got to call. Can we hang out tomorrow? That type of stuff. That happens a lot. And I want people to understand, and I want you to give them that insight on how they should go about developing healthy relationships, especially if they want something that's going to last.
I love this.
Instead of something to be, a quick sensation like an orgasm that comes and goes. It's not something that lasts forever.
That's it.
I call it the search for sensations, Aasha. People are in the search for sensation, and the sensation is temporary.
The sensation is temporary. It's the truth. It's a dopamine hit that satisfies for a minute. It's like when you have a lot of money and then you drop, then all the money leaks out. That's the same relationship that you have with men. That's the same relationship you have with your own stability. Trust me, I walked that path over and over. I'm going to break this down into a few things.
And I'm going to just step away for a second. Okay.
So number one, as ORRA mentioned, so going slow, that's something I personally didn't do in my first relationship. As ORRA was describing the women in his life, I was very much like that, right? It's almost like where women and men can get so anxious that they want to, okay, so when men do it, go quickly, they capture. And what happens when a man captures the prey is he will stop growing. And the feminine is always looking for the king. So a woman will grab onto a masculine and then realize he's stopped growing. And then she will feel like she needs to keep growing and growing and growing and growing. So the first thing is to go slow. And then the second thing is to trust the universe. If you're meant to have a detrimental situation where someone just walks out of your life in 15 years, you have to trust that that is actually what is meant to have happened. That is a deeper truth, but it's the understanding of soul contracts and that these contracts are created before you even come onto this planet. So you have to understand that you have no idea what's around the corner. You want to believe that you do because that control feels good to the internal nervous system, but you don't. And it actually allows you to relax in the knowing that if it's going to happen, you could spend 25 years single healing. But if that's meant to happen for you, it is going to happen. That's why I say get in the game of life. Who gives a shit? Have fun. You can heal from everything. I know because my heart was literally ripped out of my chest over and over and over again. I've been drained over and over and over again, and I'm still coming up on top. I'm done with that. I'm done with that for now, and maybe it will happen again. I have no idea. I just know that my own internal system feels safer, so that if it were to happen again, then I trust that that's what's meant to happen for me. And I'm also declaring that's not what I want. So growth first. This is huge. You have to put growth first in a relationship. Any trigger that comes up is yours to own. You don't need an emotionally available man. You don't need emotionally available woman. You simply need somebody who's there to be able to help you in your conscious relating. And I recommend doing as much emotional clearing as you can with your sisters and your elders and brothers if you're a man. Find a friend that you can talk to about what you're feeling. Someone who you trust that knows that not to say like, oh, she's just a bitch, bro, leave her. Or, oh, he's the worst, get him out. You want conscious friends that are going to test you and help you figure out what's going on inside of yourself. So having that growth first means that you two can grow together. Learning emotional intelligence, my method is like way bigger than any type of EQ that you take online. It's so much more comprehensive. This has changed my life. Declare it. It's so crazy how much power you have on this planet. And people don't even realize this. So what happens, right? So let's say, for example, I say, I want the king and I want to be a billionaire. Okay, this is stuff I say every day. So you know what happens is we write that down. We write that order down. I'm like, okay, give me big, like a banging body, king, and I want to be on stage and I want to be a billionaire. I write all this down on my little piece of paper. I throw it up to the universe or God or whoever. He opens it up and he's like, oh, hey, oh, wow, okay. Yes, Aasha, I'm going to give you all that. All of it's coming. What happens then is I lose my marriage. I lose my this. I get a narcissistic abused man. I become a narcissist. I lose $500,000 in funding. My entire business collapses. So what happens is the human goes, oh my God, I got the worst luck in the planet. Nothing ever happens to me that's good. And God's up there going, no, Aasha, you asked me for those other amazing things and I'm giving them to you. I just need to readjust some things. And I'm like, God, nobody ever listens to me. The law of attraction doesn't work. And like the divine's like, girl, get your shit together. I'm trying to adjust it. It just is going to feel uncomfortable. The resistance is going to hurt. You need to go through the resistance. So when you declare it and then you hold that declaration and gently hold it, you want to hold it gently. You don't want to have a massive attachment to it. You got to let go of how it happens. And you have to understand that that's the end result. And that if you're going to ask for the highest of the most high and the highest timeline in the perfect woman for you, you don't have to date a million women. You say, I want the perfect woman. I want her and her only. Realize that that narcissistic ex could come back to trigger you some more. Realize that you might lose your job. You might get banned from YouTube. All of these things that could trigger us and feel so heavy in the moment are literally just tiny little intellects that are telling you to feel this way so that you can go to your highest timeline.
Wow. Very powerful information there. And what I gathered a lot too, especially towards the end, is the law of acceptance.
That's it.
It's very powerful. It's a universal law that a lot of people don't want to abide by. They don't want to accept the reality. You know, I love the book As a Man Thinketh by James Allen. And when he says that circumstances don't make the man, it reveals it to himself.
Yeah.
It's that law of acceptance where it's like everything that has culminated into your life to where you presently are is your own doing. It's the doing of your own work.
You are the
and
creator.
not so much the doing of your own work. Sometimes it's the doing of lack of work. And a lot of times, like Bob Proctor says, to not make a decision is to make a decision, because what happens is the universe is going to make the decisions for you based on whatever energy is resonating within your spirit, being the spiritual being, having the physical experience.
1000%. Yes, you're really nailing it. Like, I love what you're sharing, because it is about what you do or what you don't do. Like, you can choose at every path. I just had a recent situation where I was like completely drained. Like, everything was drained for me. I had to rebuild my entire business. I saw the lesson so fast. And
Right.
instead of stopping, I tripled down on what I'm doing, because I realized right now, no one's coming to save me. I was relying on this person that I thought was going to come in and help me. And it's just not in the cards for me. And I have to trust that there's a reason behind that that's higher than the reason that I'm being shown now. So I could be pissed off and be like, this is the worst mission ever. This guy's a narcissist. And he did, like, that's not true. It's not even remotely close to true. This person is a really good person. He's just not choosing me in the moment. That's my shit. That's not his. And that's the other thing with the label narcissist. A lot of times people call people narcissists because they didn't get chosen. Like, they're mad that they didn't get chosen. And because the narcissist oftentimes leaves a pile of rubble and like no money, and like does weird stocky shit, it's even worse. But the truth is they just left because they didn't choose you. And that doesn't feel good to us. We're babies. We're just big babies trying to feel real comfortable all the time. But the truth is that you're never going to feel real comfortable all the time. That's why you have to learn how to handle the bad emotions, because they're not going to stop. You get nowhere. You're not going anywhere. You got to enjoy life now. You got to enjoy the heavy emotions.
Yes.
Yes, they're never going to stop. And like even you said, or like, how do you avoid it? You have no idea if that's going to be in your path. You could give your entire life to someone for 20 years and they could walk out and you have no idea. So it's the developmental trust that you have with the energy and motion, and the trust in the big, big plan. And it will change your entire life. Fun. It's fun.
No, I'm laughing because of your laugh. It's funny.
Oh,
But,
yeah, it's very cute. Yeah.
Very well said. And I don't normally, just to let you know, I do an hour and a half, sometimes 2 hour shows. So I'll keep it within the hour and a half. We're at about 1 hour and 2 minutes right now. So
Yeah,
I won't keep you too long, because as much as I could stay talking to you, I know I could do a 3 hour show with you and it'll go by like that.
yeah.
But what I want to do is I want to do it in increments, because I think it's important, especially what I've learned in podcasting over the years, is that sometimes it's better just less is more. So that way people can absorb the information, take it all in, take the nuggets from it, follow through with some of the enlightening subject matter that they got, and then give them some more, because sometimes if you give them too much, it becomes a little overwhelming. And
Mm-hmm.
I think we've covered a lot in this conversation, but let's kind of talk a little bit more about how we need to love ourselves, and we can end it off there, as far as, because I was watching Dr. Sebi on Instagram talking about having a love of a woman is not going to make him complete. And I'm talking about the late great Dr. Sebi, who's now passed away.
Mm-hmm.
And he was talking about how, matter of fact, you know what? Let me see if I can play it,
Okay.
because this is pretty awesome right here. And I believe that I shared it. So
I have all these beautiful people saying such nice things. I don't know.
oh yeah, you know, this is the first time that I've actually have somebody that knows how to use the StreamYard app.
Oh yeah. I think they're coming from my group actually, and I don't know who it is because it just says Facebook user. But they're so
well.
awesome.
I'm glad that they are, that they're basically getting this information.
Yeah, me too. It's awesome because I do a show where I interview people, so it's nice to have the microphone on here and enjoy.
Oh, you do?
Well, yeah, in my group. I'll have to have you on one day. I'd love to.
Oh, I love to be interviewed. I'm actually going to be doing a lot of interviews for the rest of this year on Podmatch. So
yeah, beautiful. Yes,
I loved, because I have a story to tell you how I got set up to get killed when I was 15 years old. So we could talk about all the adversity that I went through as a young man or as a child that has led me down this path.
Yes, because you get so many beautiful things that you're doing now and awaken the collective up. raising that collective consciousness, raising the vibe through
Absolutely.
the truth. Yeah, yeah.
So let's share Dr. Sebi real quick, and let me pull it up here so that the people can hear it.
Oh, this is great.
So this is going to be a quick thing, and then we can expound on this.
Yeah.
All right. And can you see it?
Yeah, we can.
All right,
Yeah.
cool. All right, cool. So let's play this real quick.
Okay. We can't hear it though.
Woman, listen carefully. The thing that moves Sadie is that object on the horizon that all
Yeah, because I want to start it from the beginning.
Yeah. Good.
love. Love is something that I never depended on from a woman. Listen carefully. The thing that moves Sadie is that object on the horizon that always keeps showing up, not the love of woman. And this was given to me by my mother. My mother said, look, you remember this, the love that's going to secure you through life is the love that you offer yourself, not the love of a woman. That could come and go. I've been married 4 times. I came home and found my wife in bed with another man. I didn't even feel bad. I felt good. These are the things that we need to cultivate, not the dependency of another. Why should you be dependent on me for love? Yourself. That love that you have for you, that love would never die. But if you depend on me, why would you want to do that? Why would I even want the love of a woman when one day she tells me, well, I don't love you no more? But that's fine. Keep on stepping. But my friend John, he didn't do that. He killed himself on the ship. I was a merchant seaman. He killed himself. He jumped over the side of the
Over
ship.
that thing called love.
So your love, this word love, we need to re-examine that. Every woman I've been with, I love now, but I do not depend on their love.
Perfect. Yes.
Perfect, right? Like, and this is why I played it, because this is how I want to kind of go into the end of this wonderful episode that we've been able to share together. Loving yourself, because this is one of the reasons why I attracted the narcissist at the time that I did, because I was on my self-righteous high horse at the time, and I really thought I was the shit. But in actuality, I had all these demons around me that wasn't even aware of it. And it was because I was ugly in this inside. I was becoming very critical. I had this self-righteous indignation bullshit going on, and I thought I was popping. And in reality, I was just being set up for the kill. I had a bunch of predators around me, and part of me knew it, but I was like, oh, they're not going to be able to do nothing to me. And then it all came crashing down like a house of cards. And the reason I bring this up about what the Dr. Sebi said is because you can't depend on the love of somebody else to fulfill you in any aspect of your life. Self-love is the only true love, because you being the spiritual being, having the physical experience, the love that you are comes from the great creator of all that is and ever will be. Every single atom and molecule that makes up the vibration of this physical body and of the spirit is the true essence of where you come from. That is already the love. That's why one thing I say is that I'm a very charitable man. I'm always doing things for people. Why? Because people say, why you never expect anything in return when you do something for somebody? The reason is because the gift is already in me. The gift's already been given. So why should I expect anything in return when the ability to do for others is the thing that's already been given to me? So there is nothing more to expect. A lot of people are always expecting something for something that they do, and they wind up limiting themselves. And a lot of it is because they don't really love themselves enough to feel confident that their emotional intelligence is not dependent on the actions and the worth that somebody else sees in them, but the worth that they can feel and see within themselves and experience for themselves every present moment, and not feel like they have to look anywhere outside of themselves. And it's something I always talk about. We're looking in the mirror, but we're not looking at the spiritual being. We're looking at everything that's around in the mirror. It's almost like if I was looking at everything over here instead of looking at what's here. So let's talk about self-love and why it's so important. When developing relationships and how it sustains you. So no matter how dark the relationship goes or how bright and lightful or enlightening that relationship could be, the only love that matters is the love that you have for yourself.
That's it. I love that. And it's giving yourself permission to be all of the things. So there's actually
Right.
a really thin line between narcissism and self-love. We've got a lot of women on the rise doing a lot of healing work. Divine feminine is rising, right? Remember, the feminine comes first. And I have realized the more I peel back my own egoic view of who I am and love myself more and more and more, the more I realize that I love stage. I love looking beautiful. I love being in the spotlight. And it's not from a place of lack. It's a place of feeling good, connecting with other humans, and feeling good in knowing that that is what I desire in my life. It's a deep soul desire. So the more our programs are very simple. If you were a child that was loud and someone kept telling you to be quiet, be quiet, be quiet, you're going to, over time, believe that to be true. If you're in a marriage for 15 years and every single day she's telling you this, or he's telling this, you start to believe that to be true. The whole point of this place is to get rid of those stories so that you can go deeper into your own soul, in your own love of who you are on a cellular level. This involves the understanding and the knowing that inside your body, you have a version of yourself that's a little kid, and then you have a version of you that's like a teenager, and then you have a version of you that's like an old person inside your body. And you want to cultivate a relationship with all of those things to really accentuate your own self-love. People can't even look at themselves in the mirror and tell themselves that they love themselves. And like, that should be something that you do every single day. And it's just a really, really beautiful thing. So in my method, in Self-Worth Warriors, which is all about self-love, my program, we go
I like
through
that, by the way. Self-Worth Warriors.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's the place you have to start. You have to start there. You don't want to be doing any like masculine and feminine work, or you don't want to be doing really much of like purpose work or even investing in your own entrepreneurial business until you work on your self-worth. It is the number one thing you have to work on. And yeah, and so with Self-Worth Warriors, we do a whole blend of like shadow work, inner child, laughing, and archetype work. Are you there? Aura?
Yeah, I'm here. I'm
Good.
here.
Okay. I think I froze for a second.
Oh, no, you're good. You
Am I?
didn't freeze on my end.
Oh, I'm frozen over here. I've just had to move. Okay.
The good thing is that you're still active in this discussion. Yeah. So the people, if you see yourself frozen, the other people don't. So that's good.
Oh, they don't. Okay. Yeah. So I had to move. I'm sorry, because my charger. So when we talk about the concept of self-love, like people don't even know how to start. And what I do with my work is we do emotional intelligence frequency testing. I check and see what your vibe is. And once I figure that out, I'm able to like work with people to figure out what we need to increase so they feel really, really good. And I would be lying if I said that I didn't think that emotional intelligence was literally the base of all of it. I think it's just like literally the base, and everybody should learn it. That is the fastest way to start to really be aware of who you are so that you can really love who you are.
So with that being said, let's go towards this end of this broadcast, because we're about an hour and 15 minutes in. And I think we've covered a lot. You know, somebody wrote, enjoy the heavy emotion shit. Love it.
Oh yeah, no, it said, I think he was saying like, because I had said, oh, make sure you enjoy the heavy emotions. And I think like, enjoy the heavy emotions. Shit. Like, like don't have such a bad relationship with heavy emotions. Just that alone is such wisdom. Like, you don't have to give them so much credit. Like, they're just not that bad. They just are.
Well, I'm glad that that people are enjoying this, because this is why I do this. It's all about awareness. It's all about really growing to where, awareness is everything, and abundance is everything. Is being abundantly aware, because either you're in this positive stream that is always flowing throughout the universe, and if you're not in that, then you're in nothing. Then you're not aware.
That's it.
And I want people to know that the light is within them. It's something I'm going to end the show with that I say, don't look for the light at the end of the tunnel, because the light is within you. So light up the tunnel, light up that darkness, and light up the tunnel and find your way through the darkness. There's no reason to wait for something that you think you're going to achieve outside of yourself when it's already in you. You just got to bring it out, and you got to know that it's there. And if you don't know that it's there yet, then start working on figuring that shit out, because nobody's going to do it for you. That's for sure. Nobody's going to let you know how powerful you are. The only entity that's going to let you know how powerful you are is the entity that created you. I call it the creator, the most high, which I don't think is a man. I don't think it's a woman. I think it's a force of energy that we can only begin to understand by understanding ourselves. That's the only way you get to the truth. You can read certain books, but the only true discipline is looking from within. If you get really good at that, you're going to be in a good place, and you're truly going to be fulfilled with the righteousness that's already instilled in you, that is inherited in you. So is any last comments that you want to make in regards to this conversation? Because we started off with the empath is the narcissist. We talked a little bit about narcissists, but I think overall, what we discussed is how to just be more aware of your experiences and to really examine them and find abundance in your life instead of scarcity. So don't be attached to the scarcity, be attached to the abundance.
That's it. And any of that labeling, if you're in the habit or in the frame of mind right now to label somebody in your life as anything that is not driven in love, I just learned to not do that anymore, because you are what you say you are. So if we're projecting and saying he's this, she's this, he's this, we're sending energy to that person that is not of the most high. It's not of the divine. It's not of, the creator. And I think that alone is like such a, when I'm really fortunate, I work with a lot of really high achievers. And one thing I would say consistently is they just don't feed energy like that way. Like there's one in particular that I'm working with, and he has, we all have the same problems. Doesn't matter how much money you make, you're going to never escape the relationship shit box that we all have to deal with in this place. It doesn't matter. Do a little energy into those types of things.
Okay, by the way, Aasha, now you're frozen, so I don't know if I lost you. Are you there? Yeah. I think we might have lost her. Are you still there, Aasha? Yeah. I think now is a good time to now it's a good time to probably move yourself like you did before. Because no,
I don't know. Can you hear me?
I can hear you now, but you're definitely frozen on the screen now. So yeah.
Hold on, I don't know what's going on. My computer is like tripping.
If you want, you can come back in. Yeah, come back in, and we'll give Aasha a chance to come right back in. We're going to be ending the episode anytime soon. So, but until Aasha comes back, I want to thank everybody for definitely tuning into this. For those that didn't get to tune in, obviously download the show wherever podcasts are played, and you can listen to this whole entire episode. So we're going to give Aasha a chance to come back into the room. In the meantime, I just want to talk about some of the things that we covered today, because a lot of times when it comes to narcissistic relationships, even though you may be an empath, even though you may be a very giving person, very understanding, very kind-hearted, and all of these powerful, positive things, a lot of times we have to accept responsibility for the relationship. Because even though we may not be the antagonizer, even though we may not be the person that's doing all the wrong, we still do play a part in it. we still play a part in it in a way where we are allowing for these things to happen. It's very indicative to a relationship where there's domestic violence, right? So a lot of times you'll have a woman who's getting her ass whooped all the time, getting beaten down to a pulp, and winds up staying with the man. And a lot of times they'll say, well, she's afraid to leave him because she don't know what's going to happen if she's going to try to kill her. And even though sometimes that may be true, but at the end of the day, a lot of times the woman stays in that relationship because she doesn't see her self-worth. And that is her responsibility. And it's the same thing with a narcissistic relationship. I know in my experience is that I wasn't loving myself enough to say, I'm out of here. And I should have said, I'm out of here long before I actually left the relationship. There was a time where I was going to meet with this woman and she had asked me, you still want to meet with me? And there was a part of me that wanted to say no. And I should have. And I would have avoided a lot of ugly situations that transpired after the fact. But what did I say? I was like, no, I'll come see you. And then, of course, the cycle continued. The thing is this, is that once you put it like this, I have a show that I did on, I think it was on season 4, where I said no more benefits for the doubts. And that's what it's about. You can't give people the benefit of the doubt. Once those red flags pop up, you got to be out. There's no like, oh, well, let's see what happens. It's not that much of a big deal. And all these other things you start telling yourself. You have to get out of that situation because the red flag is that marker to let you know that it's not a good situation for you and it's time to move on from it. And the sooner you move on from it, the better you'll be off. If not, then you have to suffer the consequences that you accepted into your life. And it goes back to what we've been talking about that self-love. If you value yourself and you hold your life near and dear to what is true to you, and if somebody is not in coincidence with that same energy or bringing a higher form of energy that can only make you better, then its chances are you shouldn't be there. Nobody should be a captain save a hole or a captain anything or a saver anything. That's not your responsibility. And a lot of times, and I'm going to say this, and I'm hoping that Aasha comes back, but if she doesn't, it's all good. The last thing I want to say is this, is that a lot of times we create a fantasy of the potential of what somebody can be. And what I mean by that is that we meet people that they have some great personality traits. We see the beauty, like that song, I see the beauty they possess inside. And we can see that, but they can't see it within themselves. And that's the big problem, is that we are on standby waiting for that person to become this phenomenal human being that we know that they can be, but they don't see themselves like that. And we just stay there waiting, looking at our watch like, oh, it's probably going to happen today. They're probably going to be the best version of themselves today that I know that they can be, but it never happens. And then next thing you know, many, many years go by. And the saving grace for me when I was with this narc demon, I call her, this succubus, is that when I finally realized that she was cheating on me, and she was probably doing it from the very beginning of the relationship, I'm the type of person is that I value myself so much that if somebody's willing to go as far as going to sleep with somebody else and do all types of, ugly things behind my back, once I know that happened, I have too much self-love and worth to want to even allow myself to be in that person's presence. And that was my saving grace. Because if I didn't find out that I was being cheated on, I probably would have kept trying to work out and having that vision in my head that this person can be something special. But no more benefits for the doubts, people. And also remember this, when it's bad, it's still all good. Because even when you take a L, like my good brother says, brother Ayan, right? From Georgia, who owns his own farm. with his family. He says, my L's are not losses. My L's are lessons to be learned. And that's what we have to take these experiences, lessons to be learned, but not to be repeated. So don't repeat your mistakes, because if you repeat your mistakes with a narcissist, you know what's going to wind up happening? You're going to, when you do the do-over and you repeat the mistake is going to be far worse than it was the first time. If it happens the third time will be far worse than the second, and so on and so forth. And that could have happened to me. The good thing with me is that when I realized that I went from one narcissist to the next, the moment I knew from the jump that this person was narcissistic, I dropped them like a bad habit. I blocked them. I went no contact immediately after a week of knowing them. And it was one of the best decisions I ever made in my life, because later down the line, this person tried to get me caught up in something. But because I disengaged so early, that person was able to be revealed by others very quickly, and they dismissed themselves. And that's the beauty of it, is that once you start loving yourself and holding yourself to a certain level of prestige and excellence, and you know it to be true in every fiber of your body, spirit, and mind, is nothing can stop you. That's when the aura really, really comes out. That's when your auric field really vibrates on such a high frequency that those wicked, demonic, evil, vicious people, the moment they come into the circumference of that auric field, it's almost like they get zapped by like an electric fence. They're like, zip, like, holy shit, this person's too powerful. I can't even get near them. So it looks like Aasha's not coming back, but I hope that this entire episode, for those that stuck it out, for those that are going to download the show, don't forget, please download the show. That's how we grow. That's how we monetize. So definitely support the Network of Awareness. If you're not following me, you can follow me on any podcast platform, but also follow me on Spreaker. If you don't have a Spreaker account, follow on Spreaker, because that's when you can catch these live episodes no matter what. Even when YouTube blocks us or Facebook doesn't allow for an episode to be heard for whatever reason, because they got, their panties in a bunch or whatever. Definitely follow us on Spreaker.com. That's my publisher account. You can also follow us on Apple, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and a billion other podcasting networks. So I'm going to play some music like I always do, since this is a live broadcast. So stick around, because we got independent artists that we're going to play. And the first song I'm going to play is The Free. And then we're going to exit out with some music. So with that being said, brothers and sisters, play some instrumentals here before I go. And then we're going to play some music after this outro. What I wanted to say was, let's see here. Okay, here we go. Is when you live in the present, there is always an opportunity for a new beginning. So be present and start that new beginning on your life. And don't look for the light at the end of the tunnel, because the light is and always will be within you. So light up that tunnel and find your way through the darkness. This is all the information the same. Peace, love, and light. And may the force of the Most High be with you. So we're going to go into some music real quick. All right, brothers and sisters. So I hope you can stick around. And this first song that I'm going to play is from Brother DeFree out here in St. Petersburg, Florida. All right. And we're going to play a few other songs from Take One and Demon Slayer. And I'm out of here, all right? So, shalom.
We gon' spread that peace and love right now. Why, y'all? I ain't playing about it. I need my money right now. I don't care about that shit, but the hundreds give me power to change the world. I'm coming for the man's throat. We killing Mother Earth, yo, it ain't a fucking joke. Turn the TV off, read the book, stupid. Get your mind right. If we unite, we could do this. I was born to ride for the cause, wildin' out in my drawers. Bad it, fuck the laws. They corrupt. I do my own dance, to my own drum, sing my own song. I ain't heard nothing real in so long. God so soldier. Yo, your time's over, mobbing with my posse overthrow ya. Power to the people, love conquers all, kill was evil. It's like 1, 2, 3. I go by the name Definitely. Peace and love, that's how I rock. And you know that we won't stop. Why, yo? 1, 2, 3. I'm for hope and equality. I can't believe that they done shot Nipsey. Too much violence, it must stop. Why, yo? No one's innocent, we all play a part. If we turn our heads, then we ain't pure heart. Takes courage, baby, who's coming with me? Who's down to step up? Who's getting busy on the pump beats? Pick your fucking trash up. Ocean's dying, threw your damn cup out the window. Microplastics for the kiddo. More fire, more carbon. More liars in the government. Folks starving, folks tired. Who's riding? It's like 1, 2, 3. I go by the name Definitely. Peace and love, that's how I rock. And you know that we won't stop. Why, oh? 1, 2, 3. I'm for hope and equality. I can't believe that they done shot Nipsey. Too much violence, it must stop. Why, oh? We gon' spread that peace and love, we gon' spread that peace and love, we gon' spread that peace and love right now. Why, y'all? We gon' spread that peace and love, we gon' spread that peace and love, we gon' spread that peace and love right now. Why, y'all? Hey, yo, spread it. All that hatred got to dead it. If we don't come together, then we gon' regret it. Headed towards freedom with no break, no exit. The man's time is over. You can say I said it. Spread it. All that bullshit got to stop it. Fight against each other, yo, that's what he always running. Robbing for the guys, for my guys. Get it on till I die. I'm a freedom ride. Change is gonna come. We gon' spread it. That peace and love, we gon' spread it. That peace and love, we gon' spread that peace and love right now. Why, y'all? We gon' spread that peace and love, we gon' spread that peace and love.
When the light has faded and darkness is abroad, the light is only dim because the darkness teaches us lessons that need to be learned in order for one to move forward. Embrace the darkness, for the darkness is your friend. So there is no end. It's only an illusion to what has been. Follow the light and let the spirit embark on a flight to a destination unknown, but to a place where love is the building blocks that call this place home. We are always accompanied on this journey, but still feel alone. It is never the same journey or experience that is ever shown. It is your imagination that awakens the passion that will weather the storm, because it is the pure compassion in the soul that is vigorous and strong. We're one with eternity, so let's be connected to the positive stream that allows us to fulfill our infinite destiny, most definitely. Let's strive to be the best people we can be with a power that is humanly new to see. So mistaken dismay can lead us astray, so let us stay, for it is our free will that allows us to make a choice. So I choose Yahweh with no delay.
You are now tuned in to the network of awareness. To the network of awareness. To the network of awareness.
Nowhere to hide, nowhere to run. Shambles everywhere, no more shine, no more sun. Prophecy is in your face, every word is finally coming to pass. With a surge, Babylon's hurt, no band-aids. Damn shame, funny how quick the script can flip like a pancake. The wicked do good while the saints do bad. That's what happened to heart, get you stepped on, no stampede. Look at the damages, people on a rampage. Murders cascading, bodies in a casket. People can't accept this life is like a damn dream. We've been deceived since we've been conceived. Jeez, how long will those eyes stay unopened? Everything's escalating in such a quick motion. War pouring like cola, sudden like convulsions. Lights out, no more living life like it's golden. Lights out, the freaks of the night come out. Lights out, you can hear screams and shouts. Somebody done flipped flip the switch. Somebody done flip the switch. Ain't ceasing now, lights out. Now the time to be thinking of doubt. Lights out, he's coming back, is what it's about. All praise to the king, all praise to the king. Ain't nobody gonna save you when the lights go out. What you gonna do when the lights go out? Be the bright star he made you? A doubt deep inside, you know you're the only way to go. But Lucy always got a place sketched out to stop your route. Out come the freaks of the night, no light inside, no faith inside. The eyes and perspective of zombie like chaotic, out of control. Demonic and no soul. The only goal is to seek and destroy, cause y'all don't know him. 1/3 is like a fine wine, hard to come by. Most of the world is lost and blind. Don't even know the most high idols occupying their minds. But when shit hits the fan, now you wanna cry. Better late than never, that just won't fly. Critical times calls for one to be one-sided. If you haven't sought them, in the end you won't find them. Cause when the missiles fly, it's a wrap, bow tie, bitch. Lights out, the freaks of the night come out. Lights out, you can hear screams and shouts. Somebody done flip the switch. Somebody done flip the switch. Ain't ceasing now, lights out. Now the time to be thinking of doubt. Lights out, he's coming back, is what it's about. All praise to the king, all praise to the king. Ain't nobody gonna save you when the lights go out. Lights out, the freaks of the night come out. Lights out, you can hear screams and shouts. Somebody done flip the switch. Somebody done flip the switch. Ain't ceasing now. Lights out, now the time to be thinking of doubt. Lights out, he's coming back, is what it's about. All praise to the king, all praise to the king. Ain't nobody gonna save you when the lights go out.
You've seen him, you know how strong he is. You can't win!
I don't know who you are. I don't know what you want. If you are looking for ransom, I can tell you I don't have money. But what I do have are a very particular set of skills. Skills I've acquired over a very long career. Skills that make me a nightmare for people like you. Make me a nightmare for people like you. Make me a nightmare for people like you.
I built this shit. Me. Brick by brick. And I'll be damned if I let you tear it down just cause you don't like the way another nigga talk.
It comes a time when we gotta praise the Most High. It comes a time when we repent in the Lord's eyes. Been traumatized, we just weep until we sore eyes. Don't cross that line or we gotta let the sword fly. It comes a time when we gotta praise the Most High. It comes a time when we repent in the Lord's eyes. Been traumatized, we just weep until we sore eyes. So don't cross that line, we gotta let the sword fly. All praises to the Most High. First off, I just want to say that every single day a blessing, so I'm really stepping, trying to find my way back. Counted the cost, repented the flaws, I'm trying to live. Yeah, the kingdom of heaven abroad. Have hope in my dreams, I pray I don't fall. I pray for the ones who is lost. I'm feeling the sorrow of time. I'm looking on up in the sky. I'm seeing a lot of the signs. It's either repent or you die. Cannot be walking two sides. Choose to stay, who you ride for. Cemented in faith till I die. You don't really wanna fall off. Keep your head up. Keep my sword with me with armor. We won't let up. Sharpen up your brothers, others who we care for. Always shine the light for the Most High in Christ. It comes a time when we gotta praise the Most High. It comes a time when we repent in the Lord's eyes. Been traumatized, we just weep until we sore eyes. Don't cross that line or we gotta let the sword fly. It comes a time when we gotta praise the Most High. It comes a time when we repent in the Lord's eyes. Been traumatized, we just weep until we sore eyes. So don't cross that line, we gotta let the sword fly.
I wonder why we was created, but later I got my answers. Was
searching scriptures daily, trying to get rid of this cancerous spirit. Bear witness, I live these holy commandments. Repent, or you gon' perish. Destruction is way too scary. Every day I wake, I give all praises to the Most High. Living in this lie, learn the truth, or you gon' die. Ain't much time left, the Savior coming, looking to the sky. It ain't no disguise, gotta armor up my own mind. Gotta get it, spirit dripping, these gifts don't got no limits. I'm just wishing I could live in that holy kingdom with them, focused on the mission. Eyes locked in tunnel vision, no paganism. We truly follow Christ, that real Christian.
There comes a time when we gotta praise the Most High. There comes a time when we repent in the Lord's eyes. Been traumatized, we just weep until we soar high. Don't cross that line, or we gotta let the sword fly. There comes a time when we gotta praise the Most High. There comes a time when we repent in the Lord's eyes. Been traumatized, we just weep until we soar high. So don't cross that line, we gotta let the sword fly.
Praise to the Most High. Repent and perish.
And before I go, I completely almost forgot, people. Before I head out, I wanted to say this as a last announcement. For you haters out there, and I had one contact me yesterday, prime for information, because I know y'all still watching. To you little Malik Shabazes or whatever you fake names you want to go by, and all this squirming y'all doing, just keep it real. See the potential within yourself and stop faking the funk. If you want to be part of this, just ask. And if you don't know how to be great, or if you don't know how to approach greatness, then don't. All right. So I want to give a shout outs to all the brothers and sisters that support this network and that have stuck by me and that keep on bringing and living this truth. Because at the end of the day, there's nothing that y'all haters can do to stop it. All you can do is ask questions and try to figure things out and inquire and be little spies for your, be little minions for these haters that have tried to tear down this network in the past, but you can't. It's only gotten stronger, right? And through the grace of the Most High, it's going to continue to do that. You can't break something that can never be broken. You can't break the spirit of that which is and always will be. And that's what we represent over here. So don't worry about us. We good. So all those questions that you have, what's going on with Take and what's going on with Julian and me and all this other nonsense, keep it to yourself. Like, we good. We've been good, and we're going to stay that way. So that's all I got to say. I forgot to mention that. Y'all know who I'm talking about, if the ones that are listening, especially you Malik Shabazz or whatever the hell your real name is. All right? Keep it moving. Peace, brothers and sisters. Love y'all all. Until we meet again, may the force of the Most High be with you. All praises. Let's go.